Well, interestingly, the first way we identified that stage is I actually asked our sports scientist, Robbie Ketchel, to do a quantitative analysis of the last 20 years of mountain stages in the Tour de France, and in consideration of number of climbs, total elevation gain, temperature, order in which the stages happened, current race situation, so on and so forth, that what the statistical probability of a breakaway scenario working and winning the stage, which one was the highest statistical probability. And the answer was stage 9.
So the Tour de France came with clear objectives to the Tour de France, which were the white jersey for Andrew Talansky, to win the team time trial and to provoke action in the mountain stages.
The strategy of the team was made clear from the start by Jonathan, and he made it very clear to me that he was prepared to risk everything in the Tour, or let's say to risk a smaller objective, a safer objective, to get the big sticks and to go really for the top prizes, even though knowing that can bring risks with it. So from the beginning it was clear from Jonathan that that's the road he wanted us to go down. Jonathan wanted us to be more daring and to take calculated risks in doing that, and risk losing everything. And from my personal standpoint, to get a green light from above me to do that is a kind of a gift, I suppose. It's a gift that he leaves the page open for me to use my imagination and be creative with what I'm doing.
I remember we did the first weekend in Corsica and I came literally this close to yellow jersey. And that evening, because everyone had been telling me the day before and that morning that I'd be in yellow because we'd win the team time, I was very disappointed. So I walked to the hotel, I got myself a bottle of beer and I was walking back down to my room, and Jonathan, Charlie were just getting out their cars because they always arrive later. And I saw them and we started chatting. We sat down. I remember me and Charlie sat down on the gravel and we said, okay, well, we're going to have to do something different now.
Jonathan's always pushing me to do things differently and to think about things differently and to be creative.
I basically worked on getting all the athletes to the point at which they believed in the plan, that they thought that it was the best opportunity, that they themselves decided on their own that this was the best plan possible, and then left the actual execution and tactics of that to Charlie Begalius, our director, and even in some regards to the athletes themselves, to figure out, okay, we're going to risk everything on this day. How do we go about doing that?
The normal situation is that there's a slow wearing down of the peloton until you get left with the strongest elements at the end. But that usually happens because top riders don't want to put their cards on the table at the beginning. So many times teams try to provoke the race into action, but a team who's controlling the race won't chase after a rider who's not well placed overall. So it's kind of a bit of a stalemate, I suppose, because nobody wants to risk what they have. And we were prepared to move riders who were well placed overall early in the race and have them run the risk of them blowing up. Jonathan,
hats off to him, as the team boss, said, look, I would rather we all raced, you raced with the ambition of winning rather than being scared of losing.
We entered into that stage willing to lose everything. We didn't care about getting to the finish line even. We just wanted to have fun racing and just destroy the race and rip the legs off of the guys. That was our ambition. Sitting in the bus, we were getting so psyched just to cause chaos.
We were so psyched up, like the whole team we're doing this today. And so for guys like me, Jack and Ramunas, we have limited options. We're not climbers. We had 25 Ks before the first climb where we could make the race. Ended up me and Jack were off the front on our own two guys off the front doing a time trial, essentially, a 2-up time trial, just to give our climbers a rest. They didn't have to worry about breaks going. They could then just slide, follow things, know they have two teammates up the road.
Now for me personally, that was probably one of the days that would suit me least in the tour, because I'm a big guy. I don't climb as fast as a lot of people here. And on days like that, it's just a matter of surviving, getting myself over the hills and making what's known as a time cut. There's a percentage of the winner's time that everybody has to finish by at the end of the day to remain in the race.
Our team already has an attitude of we're stronger as a group than we are as individuals, and we have an ambiance and a kind of a vibe that people know that we're not ego-driven.
My role was to pretty much be around Dan as much as possible. I mean, whenever you have the idea for somebody to win a stage, you need somebody who's going to be there to support him. And I mean, with the idea of Ryder attacking and Tom Danielson attacking, Dan needed to have somebody around him, you know, whether it was if he needed a bottle or his bike broke or he needed a wheel. Somebody kind of wherever he was, I was just around him to support him kind of on a one-on-one basis.
For me I've been a professional since I was 19 years old, 1997. I've never seen a team act like that, ever. Not in a one-day race, not in a stage race, ever. It was, we put our necks on the line, every single one of us. And thankfully, Dan did what Dan does. And he literally, when it came to the crunch moment, he did what he had to do. And it wasn't easy for him, but he did it.
Once it all started and it started to settle down a little bit, and it was such a select group in front, I had a couple of the favourites like Contador and Valverde, and like just look at me and just like shake their head, just like, what the hell are you guys doing? My instinct told me that was the right time to attack, and it just happened. And it wasn't a nerve thing or something. I didn't plan it that way. It just happened. I saw a gap I saw everybody slowing up and the road kind of being blocked a little bit, and I made a break for it. And in the end, it worked really well.
Dan, in his ultimate he's still young, but he's the best rider in the world now, and I think he hasn't quite come to terms with the fact that he is. On that day, he literally he saw all the action happening, saw what his team was doing, and kept a cool head, and kind of used it and used the 7 guys he had. Well, we were 6 of us at that point that were actually working, kind of ripping the race to pieces, and he was kind of floating amongst the mayhem.
Well, we had 6 of the strongest bike riders in the race. My teammates, like, giving their all to try and help me win the race, and then it's all down. At the end of the day, it comes down to whether I'm strong enough or if I'm calm enough to finish off whatever situation you find yourself in at the end. So, yeah, it was. But I was focused and I was very calm, and I find that when I win races, I am very calm, and I handle that pressure really well. Cycling has become it's set in its ways and a predictable sport the last couple of years. And the Garmin-Sharp team, we just wanted to put the jersey on the television and get everybody talking about Garmin-Sharp and have all the media just saying Garmin-Sharp, Garmin-Sharp, Garmin-Sharp. They made the race exciting, and that's what we're about. We're an exciting team, and we just wanted to entertain.
A lot of people who work in cycling have got so much experience that they kind of go to sleep in a way, and they stick to their own plans that they've done, you know, for many years, and they can get caught by surprise because they don't think differently very often.
If it had all gone wrong, okay, and we took this incredibly aggressive tactic and it just didn't work, we would have ended up having lost our chances at any good ride in the GC. We would have lost any chances of doing something well in the stage. We would have lost our chances at placing well. But what we did is we threw out any thought of, well, we could place well today. We said, well, either we're going to place 122nd or we're going to win. And there's really no in between.
To have 7 people do what they need to do and be up for it and motivated and to work collectively as a unit, even when you're all so tired and worn out, for it to come together and everybody to knuckle down and then to get a result like that is just, it's massive your confidence and for the team going forward and just the morale in general. On a big mountain day, there are always people that can't hold the pace, you know, the sprinters, the heavier guys. So they form a group that's known as a gruppetto, and together they ride to make this time cut. Now, if you get dropped from the race before the gruppetto forms, you're obviously in no man's land. You're on your own in the wind. You can't ride as fast as a group does, you know? So that was me on that day, out the back, on my own, kind of freaking out and thinking this is probably the end of the tour.
The sacrifice that Jack and I made was contribution. It wasn't a sacrifice because we wanted to be able to give something to the team that day, even though we knew that we were risking our Tour de France and wreaking havoc. On the halfway through the stage, Jack got dropped almost immediately, made it back home with other guys that were stuck behind. Halfway through the race, I was planning my trip home to Girona. I was like, honestly, I was out the race. I was dropped on the Perisord, off the back, and never once did I think it was a waste of time.
You know, we don't always have to do crazy things, but I think everybody learns from a positive experience that you don't always have to read from the same script that everybody reads from and try and do things slightly differently, and that it can work. But you know, at the end of the day, it's really the riders who do the riding, and I think that the praise should really go to them.